If he won, why is he so angry? Let's play Hardball. Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews in Washington. We're following breaking news tonight. For the second time, the Trump administration has defied the Congress on the president's tax returns. This as Nancy Pelosi speaks out about impeachment. And earlier today, Jared Kushner made a really ridiculous statement about the Mueller investigation. All that's coming up. Donald Trump tonight is in a troubled state, spraying tweets in all directions. Behaves like a man under siege. Ever since the Attorney General released the redacted version of Robert Mueller's report, President Trump has been weirdly enraged and also emboldened, attacking any perceived slight while barreling his way through anyone who opposes him. Time and time again, the president barks out the predictable order of the day. I answer to nobody. I'm the boss.
Nobody knows the system better than me, which is why I alone can fix it.
I mean, nobody is going to be able to do the kind of things I can do. All right, but let me tell you, the one that matters is me. I'm the only one that matters, because when it comes to it, that's what the policy is going to be.
I'm smarter than they are. I'm richer than they are. I became president and they didn't.
Well, yesterday he issued this warning to anyone who questioned his authority.
Are you worried that your staff has ignored your orders as the Mueller report portrays?
Nobody disobeys my orders.
Well, President Trump is thumbing his nose at Democrats in Congress as well. And in a flurry of investigations and subpoenas going on, the Washington Post is reporting that President Trump has told aides he's, quote, unlikely to allow all of his current and former aides to testify publicly. So it's up to him. In the days since the Mueller report was released, the Trump administration has asked the courts to stop the House Oversight Committee from seeking documents about the president's financial ties. The White House has directed a former official who supervised security clearances for Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump not to comply with a House subpoena that he appear for a deposition today. And just a short time ago, a 5 p.m. deadline passed with the Secretary of Treasury refusing to hand over the president's tax returns, despite the law clearly stating that the Secretary of the Treasury, quote, shall furnish the information to the Ways and Means Committee chairman. In a statement to Committee Chair Richard Neal, however, Secretary Mnuchin simply, we expect to provide the committee with a final decision by May 6th after receiving the Justice Department's legal conclusion. Well, also breaking tonight, reports that the White House plans to fight a subpoena issued by the House Judiciary Committee to bring Don McGahn, the president's former White House counsel, before the Congress. According to the Washington Post, events of the past week, like the ones I've just described, are threatening to redefine the legal and ethical standards that have long served as constraints on the American presidency. Few, if any, of the traditional guardrails that have kept Trump's predecessors in check remain for this president, and possibly those who will follow him. From where I'm joined by U.S. Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California, who's the chair of the House Financial Services Committee. It's an honor to have you on, Congresswoman, and I just want to ask you, what is going on? I mean, this president, he sits around and when somebody issues a subpoena, like Rich Neal of Ways and Means or Elijah Cummings, and he says, well, that's political, so I'm not going to do it. And then he says things like, that's premature. Like he's the judge almighty. Like he doesn't have to do anything that Congress says, what the law provides. He just has to say, well, how about on May 6th, we'll think about it. The arrogance of this crowd. Your thoughts? Congresswoman? Uh-oh, we got a problem. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Let me just say that this president is more than arrogant. This president has defied everybody and everything. As a matter of fact, he has no respect for Congress, and he's going to fight tooth and nail to keep us from going forward with any further investigations. And one thing that the Democrats have to understand, he's not going to give an inch. As a matter of fact, he's defied us on his tax returns. He's defying us as we seek documents from various levels of government. He's even gone to a lawsuit against Mr. Cummings and his committee. And so one of the things that the Democrats have got to understand is we're in a fight. We're in a fight with a president that has no respect for the Congress of the United States of America.
Well, what are you going to do about it? I mean, I'm not being sarcastic because the Speaker Pelosi says, I know that impeachment is the one weapon that the legislative branch, the U.S. Congress, has to use against the president. I think it's the one weapon. Otherwise, you've got to rely on him going along with you, or the courts, the 5-4 Republican Supreme Court, to back you up and not him.
Well, we're going to keep going, and we're going to issue the subpoenas. And in issuing those subpoenas, we're going to have to fight in the courts. And so we're up against him. It is a fight. But don't forget, you know better than anybody else that the Constitution of the United States of America places the responsibility on Congress to determine when a president is unfit for office. And in the final analysis, that's where the responsibility lies. It lies with us, and impeachment is the tool by which the Constitution has given us to make that decision and to protect the American people.
Well, earlier today, you tweeted, Mueller kicked the impeachment ball to the Congress. The Constitution gives the responsibility to Congress to impeach an unfit president. High crimes and misdemeanors. What more do we need? I guess I'm asking you the dynamic question because as this goes on, and this president and his Treasury Secretary and the rest of this bunch simply thumb their nose at Congress and say, forget your subpoenas, go to hell, basically, is what they're saying all the time. At what point does it change and people like Pelosi and Steny Hoyer, the majority leader of the Democrats, when do they say, this guy is really acting like he's king? Impeach him.
Well, you know, I don't know when they will come to that conclusion. This is what I know. I know that as leaders, they have the responsibility to try and hold our caucus together and to try and do and lead in the best way that they think will help us to be successful. And so they're going to try and do everything that they can. If they believe that now is not the time for impeachment, they'll keep trying and they'll go down that road. The American people, in the final analysis, is going to push on the Congress to do the impeachment. My calls are overwhelming in my office about impeachment. I have so many calls, 90% of all the calls that I'm getting. People see me on the street and they're talking about impeachment. When are you going to impeach? And so I think as the level of interest and the level of, you know, not putting up with this president any longer comes to the forefront and lays on and leans on and pressures the Congress of the United States, we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to impeach. I just wish it was sooner than later.
You know what I think about when I'm listening to you, Congresswoman? I'm so impressed because I have such a political memory like you do. Back in 1972, when Willie Brown saw that the delegation from California, which was supposed to be a unit rule and all go together, Humphrey goes in there and tries to take it away, and he yells out, "Give me back my delegation." I just think you're like that. You're like
that.
That's right. Because people change these rules. They get in there and they get some power, and all of a sudden the rules you're playing by, they're not obeying anymore, and they think they can change them so they get away with anything. Anyway, thank you so much, Congresswoman.
Well, you're so welcome, and thank you. Let's keep going. And don't forget, I'd love to see a town hall on impeachment.
Okay, thank you very much. Maxine Waters from California. Thank you. Chairman of the Finance Committee.